When the wind starts blowing and the temperature starts dropping, you can't help but dream of a nice warm vacation. But if you can't afford to fly off to the Caribbean, staying at home bundled up suddenly becomes a good alternative on those really blustery days. Thankfully, winter brings with it a ready-made, too sick to work excuse: the flu. Now, if there was only a way to ensure you didn't actually get the flu and you could still enjoy your sick day free of those achy pains and the pounding headache and the overall miserableness. But there is. It's called the FluShot, and you really should get that before you start practicing your fake cough. Not that we would condone skipping out on work or anything.
We actually received our vaccines at the end of August, beginning of September. But typically, the time that you're going to vaccinate is October and November. And you can vaccinate until the end of the flu outbreak each year. And last year, we had a very late flu outbreak. It really didn't hit until late February last year, and the peak of it was not until late March.
The flu usually occurs in 2 or sometimes 3 waves during that November to April season. That's because there are 2 types of flu virus floating about. There's influenza A and influenza B. They migrate separately, and there are usually 1 or 2 waves of influenza A and then 1 wave of influenza B. Each year, the vaccine contains 1B and 2A viruses to protect you against all of those waves. So, why is it with this guaranteed protection that some are just not willing to take the shot?
One of the big drawbacks with the flu vaccine is people don't want to get shots, and I don't blame them. Shots hurt, although just for a brief period of time, shots hurt. And there's still a lot of concern in the community about the potential side effects of vaccines. The good news about flu vaccine, especially for kids, is that the major issue with vaccines right now is the preservative thimerosal. And flu vaccine is now finally, over the last 2 years, available in thimerosal-free or preservative-free form. And those are available for all children. And in fact, the best of those preservative-free forms is actually a relatively new approach, which is a nasal flu vaccine. So you can even avoid the shot. You can just get a nose spray, a tiny squirt in each nostril once a year, and that's going to give you even more effective control than the flu shot itself.
To the average patient, this championing of the flu vaccine by the medical community seems like an over-exaggerated effort for what's generally perceived as a more severe form of the common cold. But the flu is a more serious disease than most people think. It takes over 10,000 lives each year. And though most of those fall within the elderly population, it also takes the lives of otherwise healthy individuals. Ironically, the answer to saving those lives isn't vaccinating the elderly, but vaccinating the young.
Our little people are the epicenter of all those outbreaks. They're the germ bags. They're the ones that get grandma sick. I experienced that in my own life when my grandmother was living with me, that until I started vaccinating my kids, despite her getting a flu shot every year, she got sick every year because unfortunately the vaccine's not as effective in elder individuals. Their immune system is not as responsive. But in young kids, the vaccine works very, very well. And so this year, for the first time, the Centers for Disease Control, the CDC, has recommended that all school-age children, even healthy school-age children, get the flu vaccine. But it will make a huge difference if we can comply with this in making our elderly population far safer and really reduce the risks and burdens of flu in that population.
If you have young children and need to follow these regulations, or if you have a vulnerable elderly relative, or you just want to protect yourself, there are a lot of different venues where you can receive the vaccine. Churches, schools, and obviously hospitals will typically offer flu clinics to the public. I'm Dr. Keller-Wortham, and you're watching the eHealth Network. Try to enjoy your sick days this winter. Oh, and don't forget to practice your groggly voice, too.